Hey, it's Ryan again.
Hi, and this is Abril.
So in the last video was all about our trip together to Greece to check out a few boats. Not so much because we were interested in them, but more so to get on as many boats as possible and see what we liked. And in fact, that trip kind of taught us that as much as we really like the idea of a wide stern Mediterranean cruiser style with twin helm and a lot of space at the deck, we kind of prefer a center cockpit with a big aft cabin, and typically something with nice, solid teak interior, so something a little bit older. And as I mentioned in the previous video, just as we were about to go to Greece, we kind of saw on yachtworld.com another boat that caught our eye in Menorca.
Yeah.
We almost changed our plans, but decided it was better to go to Greece, where there are more boats for sale to check out.
Yeah, and I remember the ones in Greece, they were a bit more modern looking, and I think the one that, we had only seen a few photos, but the one in Menorca looked a bit more like the classic aesthetic of a boat, and I really like that for the interior. But anyway, I just imagine that I don't know anything about sailing. I only cared about the interior and like that everything looked pretty. But anyway, it was
all the actual sailing components of it were in really good condition as well. But no, so we decided to save that trip and go to Greece still. And then a little bit later, I went by myself again to Menorca to check out this boat. Please enjoy the video. I'm pretty sure I filmed most things in landscape, so hopefully I don't have to apologize for anything.
And we won't have to forgive you again.
All right,
Okay,
enjoy.
Enjoy.
Okay, I'm about to board my flight for my third trip to view some sailing boats. I'm hoping that this is the last one. I quite like this Mahón 462. It's a bit old, but she looks very beautiful and has everything that we need to get started. So hoping this works out, but it's several flights to get to the relatively remote place of Menorca from Dubai. So here we go. After catching a bus into the center and checking into my hotel, I went straight to the marina to check out this boat. She is a 1983 Mahón 462 with a ketch rig. We weren't necessarily looking for something this old, but she ticked a lot of the boxes when it comes to the center cockpit, a big aft cabin, being blue water ready, and having a lot of lovely teak in the interior. One of the first things I noticed about this boat was the size of the cockpit space. A problem with a lot of center cockpits is that there isn't much space to entertain up on deck, but I was really pleasantly surprised by the amount of space in the 462 cockpit. There was a lot of room on both sides and a decent sized table. Moving forward, I noticed the newer, slightly bigger hatches that had been installed at some point, which is definitely a bonus. As I was moving down the deck, I noticed a decent amount of room to pass by on either side. Also, regularly checking under my feet for any soft spots in the deck. Something this old, it could be prone to some osmosis, but everywhere I walked, it was rock solid beneath. Seat, which is pretty cool. Even though there were larger hatches, the dorade, and some handrails, there was still a significant amount of space on that foredeck to lay out or entertain. Now, I think this boat still had its original rigging, but it all looked in really great condition. The thing about ketches also is that there's typically not as much pressure put on all the standing rigging, and therefore tend to last a bit longer. Going down below, it was a nice wide companionway with good stairs, and I immediately noticed the really lovely teak on the interior here. She had a nice spacious saloon, which was actually quite bright considering the age of the boat, with a really nice settee and galley. I really like these galleys that kind of keep you in a corner. They make it much easier to cook while underway and a lot safer. One of the unique aspects of this boat, and something that I really love, is all the rattan work on the cupboards and sliding doors that allows for ventilation and just looks really cool. The chart table and seat were a really great size. It had a comprehensive set of navigation equipment, although it was quite dated, but that could be easily updated. One of the most attractive parts of the interior, for me at least, was the amount of headroom. I'm at least 6'3", and so being able to move around the boat without having to worry about hitting my head was a real bonus. So you can see, like even here, plenty of headroom. Moving forward to the forward cabin, which is a V-berth. This is the secondary cabin with the main being aft, but it's still a very good size. The boat was also fitted with a Vetus bow thruster, which is particularly handy for getting into those tight spots and marina berths. The V-berth could also be augmented a little with this cushion wedge that fitted into the empty space, just to make it a bit more comfortable. The forward head was a decent size, but pretty much a standard wet marine head. The only difference was a really nice teak grate on the floor, which you can't really see here because of the cushions that were being stored. Again, some really nice rattan work on the sliding doors for the storage here. There was some good stowage space behind the settee and under the settee, but being an encapsulated keel with encapsulated tanks, there wasn't really much storage space in the bilge under the teak sole here. Another really clever design feature is that both sides of the saloon can be converted to a double berth. This panel here folds out to create a double berth, and on the other side the table lowers down to create yet another double berth. Heading aft down the port side of the boat, there are two good-sized bunks, although they're both being used for storage, and in the center a really good-sized engine room. Now this 462 has the original Perkins engine, but a new generator, or at least a 3 or 4 year old generator that only had about 130 hours on it. Heading further aft again, we come to the main cabin, the owner's suite. Now this is incredibly spacious. The camera doesn't really do it justice. It has two berths along each side, which are meant to be used for underway passages, and it also has a middle berth here that is kind of like a double as well. So you have a lot of bed space in a fairly unique layout. Of course, I had to get in the bed to check it out for myself, just to be sure. In here, if you can see, but I'm reaching out my hands and my feet, and I can't touch the ends of this bed. Wow. Wow. Not only is the aft cabin very spacious, but the aft head ensuite has a lot of space, and that classic Morgan 462 bathtub, which everyone is amazed by, but I don't think gets used too often. It is, however, really great to have a separate space for a shower. Engine access also from the bathtub area. There's the generator and some more classic rattan on the panels. Look, I have to bend my head a little bit, but it's a decent amount. Over on this side I can stand up more or less. After viewing the boat, I decided to take a walk around the town of Mahón to reflect on what I'd just seen in the boat and to also soak in the local life there. That evening I had a lengthy teleconference with the broker and the owner just to find out more about the boat and to arrange another viewing the next day before going out for a lovely local meal. So I'm in Menorca, in the town of Mahón, and this is a look at Argo, and she's a very beautiful boat, and with a couple of minor imperfections, but it's nothing that can't be addressed. And afterwards had a lengthy phone call with the broker and the owner, which was really productive. Now it's about 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to go look at the boat once more, maybe do a closer look at the mizzen sail and a couple of other things. But then I need to get back on a flight to Barcelona and then on to Dubai eventually. So we'll see what comes of this. So I went through the boat again, this time in a little bit more detail and checking some things that I'd kind of just forgotten to check the day before. Also, it's a long way to go from Dubai to see the boat, so if I was going to make an offer on it, I wanted to make sure I knew it inside and out. Being an American boat, it was running a 110 volt system, but these two inlets took the 220 volt shore power and stepped it down to 110 in the interior. I took the time to take a closer look in the engine room to check out the mechanical equipment. It has the original Perkins engine, a 5 kilowatt Northern Lights generator, 110 volt fridge and freezer, a 12 volt fridge, a water maker, air conditioning, and a rather complex electrical system, given that there was the difference between 220 volts shore power and the 110 volt boat power. It also had quite a substantial water heater. I investigated the running rigging a little bit more. Being overseas, the owner wasn't too enthusiastic about me raising the sails completely up, but I did get them part of the way up just to check their overall condition. After checking out the boat for the second time that morning, I had a good 6 hours or so to walk around the town again and collect my thoughts and think about making an offer. The town of Mahón, although I did not get to see it very well on this trip, is really beautiful. It has a lot of great restaurants and some really great traditions. Here's a Catalonian drumming band performing on the streets. If you hadn't noticed already, I had really started to like the boat. So before I left to the airport, I went to an observation point just above the marina to check her out one last time, giving stalker vibes. So I'm sure you've already guessed that we did in fact end up buying Argo, the lovely Morgan 462 from this video. And you've probably already recognized the teak in the saloon that I'm currently sitting in. So why did we end up going with the Morgan 462? There are several aspects that align with what we were looking for, but just to name a few, we really love the large center cockpit, we love the large aft cabin, the lovely teak work all around the boat, the larger hatches which let in a lot of light and made it brighter down below, and the fact that she was a really solid, blue water ready kind of cruiser. Probably the biggest aspect was that she was kind of the exact right size that we were looking for. Being 46 foot or 14.1 meters, she had the perfect amount of space for what we wanted to do. A lot of people have told us that as a relatively young cruising couple that around about 40 feet would have been enough. But as we mentioned before, we're both very much creatives and we had a lot of things that we wanted to bring on board with us. I'm a musician, so I wanted to bring on my digital piano, my guitar, my recording equipment, and Abril is very much into making things with her hands using textiles. So she wanted to bring on a sewing machine, lots of yarn, and other bits and pieces that she works with. The 462s had enough space for that, and also enough space for us to welcome any friends or family that we wanted to have on board regularly. Now for the buying and negotiating process, which I'm more than happy to share with everyone because it's something that I would have found really helpful in the process of going through and buying this boat a while ago. The former owner put on a listing price of 100,000 euros, which at the time was about 103 or 104,000 US dollars. Now this is very much at the high end or even above the range of market value for Morgan 462s. I can kind of understand why he put on such a high asking price. The boat was in fantastic condition and it had a lot of brand new pieces of equipment, like the brand new Northern Lights generator, a couple of new sails, heaps and heaps of brand new spare parts like water pumps and things like that, a bow thruster, but perhaps the most valuable add-on is the fact that it was European VAT tax paid, which means that she can stay in European waters as long as we want without being liable for the 21% of the value of the boat as a tax fee. This was a really big value add for us. Having said that, there was kind of no way I was going to pay that kind of price. Also, the former owner was reserving a lot of extra items for additional sale, which I also think was maybe just off to the side as a bit of a bartering tool. Things like the 10-foot dinghy, a 20 horsepower outboard, a custom teak passerelle, and a wind vane steering system. So eventually we negotiated and the price that we agreed on was 90,000 US dollars, but including several of the additional extras like the 10-foot dinghy, 20 horsepower outboard, the teak passerelle. We couldn't exactly get him to include the wind vane steering system, but we figured that we'd probably stay in the Mediterranean for a couple of years, so it's not something that we'd be really needing immediately. The offer, of course, was under the condition of a satisfactory out-of-water survey done by a proper engineer. So that gets us on to the next adventure, which was organizing a survey for a boat in Menorca from Dubai, arranging for insurance, arranging for registration, and taking care of all the paperwork for transfer of the boat. This is quite a lengthy process, and I think we made the deal for the boat in November, but it wasn't until early February that it actually went through and Argo was ours for real. A lot of this came down to the delay caused by the Christmas and holiday period, but it was quite difficult to go through all that paperwork being an Australian that lived in Dubai and was buying an American registered boat from an American in Spain. Anyway, we got there in the end and we are super happy with Argo and where she has taken us so far. Pretty soon I'll post a video of a proper walkthrough tour of the boat as we have her set up. Thanks, and please like, please subscribe. I'm going to be posting some more videos of our adventures in the Mediterranean thus far.